Kate had always been the kind of woman who counted twice and cut once. 15 years in corporate risk assessment had taught her that the devil lived in the details, and those details paid her mortgage. She sat in the back row of the quarterly presentation, nursing her third cup of coffee and watching the new chief financial officer Vincent wave around his laser pointer like he was conducting a symphony of lies. Vincent was everything Kate despised about corporate climbers. Fresh Harvard MBA, cologne that cost more than her car payment, and the kind of confidence that came from never being wrong because daddy's connections ensured he never had to be. His slides painted a picture so rosy it belonged in a fairy tale: revenue projections up 22%, operational costs down 8%, and risk factors so minimal they might as well have been unicorns. Kate's pen moved methodically across her notepad. Not taking notes, she never took notes in these dog and pony shows. She was connecting dots, following paper trails, watching the smoke rise from numbers that didn't add up. Because Vincent's beautiful projections had one tiny problem: they were built on quicksand. She'd seen the vendor contracts that expired 3 months ago but somehow still appeared as active revenue streams. She'd watched the maintenance backlog grow like a tumor while Vincent magically made those expenses disappear from his forecasts. And she'd noticed something else, something that made her pulse quicken just slightly. The company's new legal counsel, Patricia Wong, sharp as a razor and twice as cutting, kept glancing at Kate during Vincent's presentation. Not casual glances. Pointed ones. The kind that said, "You see it too, don't you?" Kate did see it. She saw everything. But she didn't speak up. Not yet. She'd learned long ago that the best time to catch a liar wasn't when they were telling the lie, it was after they'd committed to it in writing, in front of witnesses, with their signature on the dotted line. The email arrived on a Wednesday morning, buried between spam about office supplies and a reminder about the company picnic. The subject line was innocuous: Q3 risk assessment, urgent review required. Kate opened it with the same casual interest she'd give to a grocery list. Then she read it again. Then a third time, her coffee growing cold as the implications crystallized. Vincent needed her to sign off on a risk assessment that classified several major operational liabilities as unlikely and immaterial. The same liabilities she'd been flagging as critical for the past 8 months. The same ones Vincent had been systematically ignoring because they made his projections look like fantasy football. The email was professional, polite, and absolutely poisonous. Given our upcoming board presentation, we need alignment on risk categorization to ensure consistent messaging to stakeholders. Translation: lie with us or get steamrolled. Kate stared at the attachment, a beautifully formatted document that transformed millions in deferred maintenance, equipment failures, and contract disputes into statistical footnotes. Her name was already typed at the bottom, waiting for her electronic signature. She leaned back in her ergonomic chair and did something she rarely allowed herself. She smiled. Because Vincent had just made the classic mistake of putting his conspiracy in writing. Kate's response was a masterpiece of corporate passive aggression. She forwarded Vincent's email to herself 3 times, CC'd it to her personal account, and saved copies to 2 different cloud services. Then she crafted a reply that was pure silk wrapped around a steel blade. Vincent, thank you for the opportunity to review these assessments. I need additional time to ensure accuracy given the materiality of some items. Will require 72 hours for thorough analysis. Best regards, Kate. She hit send and then did something that would have seemed mundane to anyone watching. She went to lunch. But Kate's lunch wasn't at the company cafeteria. She drove downtown to a small Italian place where she'd arranged to meet her old law school roommate, Elena Vasquez. Elena now ran a boutique firm specializing in employment law, with a particular expertise in corporate whistleblower cases. You look like someone who just found a winning lottery ticket, Elena said, sliding into the booth across from Kate. Kate pulled out her phone, opened Vincent's email, and slid it across the table. Elena read it once, then twice, her expression shifting from curious to predatory. Holy shit, Kate. Do you know what this is? Kate sipped her water. Fraud. Fraud, conspiracy, potential securities violations if this goes to investors, and... Elena paused, scrolling through the attachment. Jesus, Kate. This isn't just asking you to fudge numbers. They're asking you to be complicit in material misstatements that could trigger SEC violations. I know. And you documented everything? Kate's smile could have cut glass. Elena, I've been documenting Vincent's creative accounting since the day he walked in. I have emails, revised forecasts, meeting minutes where he specifically instructed department heads to massage their numbers. I have everything. Elena leaned forward. What do you want to do? I want to watch them hang themselves. Then I want to get paid for the privilege. Kate's 72 hours stretched into a week. Every day, Vincent sent increasingly frantic emails. First polite reminders, then urgent requests, finally thinly veiled threats about team players and career advancement opportunities. Kate responded to none of them. Instead, she spent that week doing what she did best, building an unassailable case. She cross-referenced Vincent's projections with actual vendor contracts, matched his cost forecasts against real maintenance schedules, and documented every single discrepancy. By Friday, she had assembled a file that read like a prosecutor's closing argument. That's when Patricia Wong appeared at her cubicle. Kate, we need to talk. Patricia was everything Vincent wasn't: precise, prepared, and genuinely intelligent. She joined the company 6 months ago from a white shoe law firm, and Kate had watched her navigate the corporate politics with surgical precision. They walked to Patricia's office in silence. Once the door closed, Patricia didn't waste time on pleasantries. Vincent's risk assessment is fraudulent, Patricia said flatly. Kate didn't flinch. Yes, it is. He's pressuring you to sign off on it. Yes, he is. And if those projections go to the board and then to investors based on your supposed approval, we're all looking at potential criminal liability. Kate nodded. That's correct. Patricia leaned back in her chair, studying Kate like a chess player contemplating her next move. What do you want, Kate? I want Vincent to stop treating me like an idiot. I want him to stop putting my professional reputation at risk. And I want him to understand that 15 years of experience means something. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened her desk drawer and pulled out a legal pad. Tell me everything, she said. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Kate knew this because Vincent had sent her the calendar invite, along with a note that he expected her final sign-off on the risk assessment by noon. At 11:58 a.m., Kate sent her response. It wasn't the signature Vincent expected. It was a detailed memo, professionally formatted and thoroughly documented, explaining why she could not and would not approve the risk assessment as presented. She outlined each discrepancy, cited specific examples of Vincent's data manipulation, and concluded with a recommendation that the board postpone any decisions pending a comprehensive audit. She CC'd the CEO, the entire board of directors, and the company's external auditors. Vincent's response was immediate and nuclear. He called Kate directly, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. What the hell do you think you're doing? He hissed. Kate's voice was steady as stone. My job, Vincent. The job I've been doing for 15 years while you were still figuring out how to expense lunch. You just torpedoed months of work. The board meeting is in 2 hours. Then I suggest you use that time wisely. Maybe start by explaining to them why you've been systematically inflating projections and hiding liabilities. The line went quiet for a moment. Then Vincent's voice dropped to something approaching a threat. You have no idea what you've just done, Kate. No idea who you're fucking with. Kate smiled, though he couldn't see it. Actually, Vincent, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. The question is whether you know who you've been dealing with. She hung up. The board meeting was postponed. Then the CEO requested an emergency audit. Then the SEC received an anonymous tip about potential securities violations at Kate's company, complete with detailed documentation. Vincent tried to fight back. He questioned Kate's competence in emails to the CEO. He suggested she was disgruntled and possibly unstable. He even implied that her analysis was motivated by personal grievances rather than professional concerns. Every email he sent was another nail in his own coffin. Because what Vincent didn't know, what he never bothered to learn in his rush to discredit Kate, was that Patricia Wong had been building her own case against him for months. The company's legal department had been quietly documenting Vincent's pattern of ignoring legal counsel, manipulating financial data, and pressuring employees to participate in potentially illegal activities. When the external auditors arrived, they found a company where the CFO had systematically undermined financial controls, ignored material risks, and created a culture where accurate reporting was treated as disloyalty. The audit took 3 weeks. When it concluded, Vincent was asked to resign. But Kate wasn't done. Because Vincent's parting shot was to claim that Kate had been insubordinate, uncooperative, and possibly complicit in any reporting irregularities. He suggested the company might be better served by conducting a thorough review of the risk management department. Translation: if he was going down, he wanted to take Kate with him. That's when Elena made her move. Employment law is beautiful, Elena explained to Kate over coffee. Because it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about who can prove what happened and why. Elena had been building a case while Kate documented Vincent's fraud. A case for wrongful retaliation, whistleblower protection violations, and hostile work environment. Vincent's own emails became evidence of his attempt to destroy Kate's career in retaliation for her refusal to participate in securities fraud. The settlement negotiations were swift and decisive. The company's insurance carrier took one look at the documentation and recommended immediate resolution. Vincent had created such clear liability that fighting the case would have been corporate suicide. Kate received a settlement that included full back pay, bonus compensation, a glowing reference letter, and a confidentiality agreement that protected her while ensuring she could never be retaliated against for her whistleblowing activities. Vincent, meanwhile, found himself facing not only termination but potential criminal charges. The SEC investigation he tried to blame on Kate had uncovered a pattern of securities violations that could result in both civil and criminal penalties. 3 months later, Kate accepted a position as chief risk officer at a competitor, with a salary increase of 40% and the kind of respect Vincent had never shown her. She kept Vincent's final email, the one where he tried to destroy her reputation, framed on her office wall. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. In corporate America, the quiet ones aren't weak. They're patient. And patience, combined with competence and careful documentation, is the deadliest weapon in any professional arsenal. Vincent learned that lesson the hard way. Kate had known it all along. Sometimes the best revenge isn't explosive confrontation. It's methodical, documented, and absolutely devastating. In the end, it's not about who shouts the loudest, it's about who builds the strongest case and knows when to play their hand. Big thanks for reading, strategic thinkers. Remember, in corporate chess, the quiet pieces often deliver checkmate.